Howdy, Desert Boy here. Today I thought I'd come and talk to you a little bit about what I call the military metal masters of Mayhem. But, you know, they've been very reliable pistols, and just kind of look at a few that I have in my collection and talk a little bit about them briefly. Of course, we start out with the 1911, right? You can see that this guy is unloaded, and 1911 Mil-Spec here. This is Springfield Armory, 1911 A1 technically. Nice gun, right? This one here started out, and it was in service kind of semi-officially about 74 years. Although select units, I mean, use these into the 21st century. There's no doubt about that. And of course, they started out with a 7-round mag, right? And we can also see this has no magazine in it, right? And of course, most of us probably have 8-round magazines for these, and you can get like up to 10 rounds. What's some of the features of this? Well, it does have a, when you have it cocked and locked and everything, it does have, now mine's not a ambidextrous, but it does have a grip safety, and it does have a manual safety. These are single actions only. This is in 45 ACP. That's the traditional caliber for this. These guys were like, you know, 5 inches long, sight radius of about 6.25 inches, you know, 8.6 inches overall, 39 ounces. This is all stainless steel. And capacity, like I said, was 7. Now, you know, most people have 8-rounders. You could use a 10 and extended. These basically have, you know, 3-dot type sights usually. Probably the old ones back in the World War II and so forth were more like blade sights. And then, you know, the height is about 5.5 inches, and the width is about 1.25 to 3 inches, 1.3 inches. So, you know, was it used by the military? Yes, for about 74 years officially. Of course, they were used up until special units, like I said, in the 21st century. So, you know, it's a long time, you know, around 1911 to about 1985. So what replaced that guy? Well, before we get to that, let's talk about maybe one of its contemporaries during World War II, and that was the P-35. Now, this is a reproduction. It's got some modern features to it that weren't part of the original. This is a single action only with a, this one happens to have an ambidextrous safety. There is no grip safety, also designed by John Browning. And, you know, he didn't finish, as my understanding. It was, he had the base design for it, 9mm, right? This guy originally, these had, I believe, if I remember right, 13 round. And these are actually, nowadays, modern magazines have 15 rounds. This one happens to have a green fiber sight. They were a blade sight in the old days. And of course, it's got kind of a blackout to it. You know, and it's about 4.7 inches over, it's 7.5 inches overall, 4.7 inch barrel, 6.5 inch sight radius, which is kind of nice, 5 inches in height, you know, 1.6 inches wide, very nice single action only trigger, 31 ounces, so it's a little lighter than some of the other ones. This one happens to be, I believe it's like a aluminum and steel, if I remember right, and how it's made. And then, you know, we talked about the capacity, and originally it did have a magazine disconnect, but in the modern ones, most of them, depending on the model, are removed. So, very handy size. I really like this size. Okay, so we had a little interruption there as I had made room on this old iPad to continue my discussion about the high power, but once again, very nice gun, very handy. I like carrying this one. I have both a strong side and a shoulder holster for it. I'd like to get a strong shoulder holster for my 1911 of some kind as well. And they shoot very well. So this was kind of a contemporary of the 1911 during World War II, used a lot by British and Canadian forces, for example, and probably other British Empire related type forces. It was a 9mm, and it was in use amazingly for 80 years from about let's see, I think it was in use all the way up into I think about 2013 or something like that, where it was eventually replaced by the by I think they replaced them with Glocks in general, but I can't remember. But they were in use quite a long time in England and so forth. So that's that one. So those two were kind of contemporaries. But what ended up replacing the 1911, because it went up through 1985, 1911, 1985. And this one here is a, you can see that that's empty, it's got no magazine in it. This has a decocker only. The original M9 just happens to be the Langdon Tactical Technologies Elite LTT. And it's a decocker only because it's a G model, but they're normally a decocker safety. No magazine in there, probably doesn't have ambidextrous safeties like this one, or the special barrel and all the features that this one has. But this one was in service from 1985 to about 2017, when the Sig Sauer M17, 18, M18 P226 essentially replaced it. Nice looking gun. This has a now this one has a 4.7 inch barrel, but the original 92s or M9s had a 4.9 inch barrel, 8.5 inches overall, about a 6.1 inch sight radius. They were about 5.4 inches high and 1.4 inches wide, 33 about 33 ounces. This one's a little heavier at about 34.9. And they had 15 rounds. Now this one also has 18 round magazines. It just happens to be this model. And of course, normally you probably had a type of blackout, and you know, you're normally probably a white dot up on front. And this one has special night sights on it. Now, you know, nice gun. By the way, the first two were single actions only. This is a double action, single action. So the first trigger pull is a heavy double action followed by single actions once the hammer is back from the operation of the slide. And that's why it has the decocker or decocker safety. And so this was very, very, had a tumultuous beginning. They had issues, I think, around the springs and things cracking. And they finally got that worked out. And a lot of people, after initially not being too thrilled with it, I think they came to really enjoy this. I know I had an instructor at a gun school I went to that was really liked their M9 a lot. So from their time in the military, and of course these guys just, you know, standard type magazine. So let's talk about another metal one that was not, it lost out to the M9, and that one here is it's empty, no magazine, just got a decocker on it, right? Just a decocker, not a decocker safety. This is the Sig P226 MK25. If you'll notice, it has the anchor insignia on there. That's to honor the fact that this type of model was used, a MK25 with the seals, for quite a number of years, and only recently in the last few years I think they began replacing them with Glocks. So it was in service, you know, for quite a number of years, where the M9 was in service, I think about 35 years or so. You know, this one here was in service from about, let's see, well, probably from about the time they competed for those contracts with the M9 up till more recent times. But it was in limited service, just like the 1911 remained in limited service. And of course, all these guns may be in use at different police agencies or even military in some places in the world today. Also an all-steel gun, I mean all-metal gun with, a lot of these have aluminum frames with steel slides. I'd say the 1911 was all steel, and I believe, I think the Beretta is also steel and aluminum, so it's not all steel like the stainless steel. Now this guy here has a 4.4-inch barrel, and of course the more modern ones have, you know, accessory rails on them, and it has tritium night sights on it, Sig Light ones. And of course there's more modern versions, the X Legion type ones, which is kind of what this hat stands for that I have on it, because I have a P938 Legion, which is a very small 9mm. This one was in 9, just like the Beretta and the P-35 high power. This here is a 4.4-inch barrel, 7.7 inches overall length, 6.3 inches in sight radius, with 5.5 inches height, 1.5 inches wide, and it's about 34 ounces. 15 rounds, although they do make extended magazines like this, which hold about 20 rounds, if I remember right. And so it's a nice looking gun. Some people don't like the high bore access of it. You know, most Glock users, or one of the guns they do not have that I'd like to have someday that deserves to probably be in this collection is the CZ75, which has a very low bore access and is all metal. And that one there would be, of course, worthy of being in this grouping of metal, because they were used by military, especially probably Eastern Europe, for many years. And I hope someday to get one of those, but just a nice handy gun overall. Now that particular gun, that was always kind of my whatever hits the fan kind of gun. So for a holster, yes, I do have more like a tactical low-ride hip type holster for that. For the Beretta, I just have a standard inside the waistband one right now, though I'd love to have a shoulder holster for it as well as an outside the waistband. For my high power, I have this shoulder holster that I got, which carries a spare mag, and I have a strong side holster that also carries a spare mag that's leather. And then I have this is kind of, I think this is called the Longmire type holster, is what they used to call it, that Galco makes, which is, I can't remember the exact name of it, something Master, Combat Master maybe, or something. Can't remember for sure, but this is what I have for my 1911, along with several other Kydex holsters. But that's my main leather one that I have, along with some, I think, I can't remember who made them. I think it was, remember if it was Blackhawk or another manufacturer, but they're also good holsters. So that's kind of my collection here of, as I call it, the military metal masters of Mayhem. So I don't know, the little 1911, it's a metal one, all metal one, 1911 looking gun, the P938, but it, you know, wasn't an official military gun, but sure wouldn't surprise me if somebody didn't carry one once in a while somewhere, you know. And maybe we'll do one of smaller ones as well. So I hope that was useful to you. And as Reed Desert Boy always says, be safe out there, whatever you're doing. And I hope we can all enjoy the rest of the summer safely. Bye now.